Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Matt, and this is Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit, your beacon of freedom and the American way of life. Tune in every Mondays for a new episode as we dive into the world of liberty and what makes our country great. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Eric and Matt here with LLP, and I hope you all are having a great week. We are back with another episode here today, and LLP is your home for all things sane in a world gone completely mad.
Absolutely bonkers.
Maybe we've gone mad too, and that's okay. I'll accept that. If the shoe fits, wear it. That's the way I look at it.
If it's a duck, it's a duck.
That's right. I hope everybody has had a great week, and I really appreciate the continued support for LLP. We've got a lot of great things we're going to talk about today. Today's episode is called Complicit Crime, and what we're going to really be discussing today is how our law enforcement, judicial system, the system of law and order that we have in our country has become a giant political football, and the way that it is wielded and often mishandled, I think is probably a good way to articulate that, Matt. A mishandling, a miscarriage of justice, if we will, that consistently happens across the board and is very politicized. And, these activist judges and these activist politicians, essentially, that get into these positions of power strictly to, sort of wield it as a weapon against people they disagree with, which I suppose at the end of the day, Matt, that's probably what politics really is, I suppose. But it is unfortunate that it becomes this pendulum effect of, consistently going back and forth between two political factions. And you have these average people in the middle who are just trying to live their lives and be normal people. And they really just want to be left alone. They really don't want anything to do with either side, really. They just want to live their lives and have fun and take care of their families and work hard and do their thing. And it seems like there's just this people in the middle and this meat grinder that sort of get chewed up and spit out. And I think a lot of people are starting to see this duopoly, this sort of effect of push and pull and stranglehold that is on society by these people. And that's what we're going to discuss today. And I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned this idea like, oh yeah, we're going to go off on this one.
Well, yeah, man, because it's just one of those things that you clearly see it in your everyday life. And nobody ever asks the questions. They just kind of accept it like this is just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And I just always find it weird. Like you won't see it report any of these crimes. You don't see it reported, or you see it for like one day and then it just disappears. It gets kind of buried underneath everything else. Mm-hmm. But you always see that happen in, blue cities or blue states, mm-hmm. especially when it doesn't fit the narrative of that particular government. But then you see it happen on the opposite side, where when it does fit their narrative, they trumpet it and they blast it from the rooftops.
It's crazy. It absolutely is. And we're going to definitely dive into it. Before we get started today, I would like to thank our first sponsor of the show, and that is My Patriot Supply. And a big thanks to them for being a long-term supporter of LLP. Definitely a great group of people. And they have a new promotion we're going to talk about. This is really cool. I think you guys are going to dig it. September is National Preparedness Month. So it's the perfect time to ask yourself some questions like, how much food do you have on hand for emergencies? How would you get clean water if the tap went dry tomorrow? What would you do if a storm knocked out the power for a week? If you're anything like me, there's some room for improvement on this stuff. Luckily, our friends at My Patriot Supply are making disaster preparedness easier and more affordable than ever by giving you over $1,500 worth of emergency food and preparedness gear for free. They just launched their Preparedness Month Mega Kit, and it includes a full year of emergency food, a water filtration system that can purify almost any water source, and a solar backup generator, plus a lot more. And here's the best part. If you go to mypatriotsupply.com/LLP, you can get 90 preparedness essentials totaling over $1,500 absolutely free. Head to mypatriotsupply.com/LLP for full details. That's mypatriotsupply.com/LLP. That's Lima Papa for more information. And definitely a huge thanks to our friends at My Patriot Supply for being a huge supporter of LLP, and great people over there. And they got some great rations and things you can get as well. Great freeze-dried food. So ton of good survival options for you. So this complacency in crime it's like if you ignore the crime, it's the same thing as saying that you either support or contribute to the crime at hand. And I think that the way that a lot of Americans feel is that they are in this kind of situation where they're being thrown to the wolves by the very system that they view is supposed to protect them on a regular basis. And well, first of all, now you guys know I have strong feelings about this. You should never rely on a governmental system to be responsible for your safety, for your security, for your livelihood. I strongly believe in people, being self-sufficient, being able to solve their own problems, being able to protect themselves, being able, own their own guns, have their own food storage. I mean, that's why My Patriot Supply is such a great supporter of this show, because they know where our heads are at, and they know that you guys who, listen to the podcast, and if you watch here on YouTube, know that we are all kind of very similarly minded in our ability to, really think critically, to think for ourselves, and to be responsible for our own safety and take that up into our own account accordingly. And I think that that's very important for society in general, to not overly rely on government, to rely on government as little as possible. And when we see these situations where it seems like our own government is actually complicit in crime, and what we mean by that is, again, these activist judges, these judges who will take violent criminals who are what we call career criminals. And that's the craziest thing in the world to me, to think of a criminal as a career criminal, as someone who can actually just keep getting out with a slap on the wrist and keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, seemingly without consequence. And I know you guys and girls, you probably saw that tragic stabbing that happened on the bus. A young girl who was coming back from her job. She was, I think, working at a pizza restaurant or something, and was coming back from her job on the bus and got stabbed in the neck and killed by a perpetrator that had been let go by these activist judges multiple times. In fact, she let that guy go along with, I think, a dozen or 16 others with a simple promissory note. Signed a note saying that I promised to show up to court.
Yep.
And let them all go. And then now you see what happened. So are these judges facing any consequences for their actions? Are these judges the ones riding public transport? Are their children riding on public transportation? Right? Are their children going to public schools with some of these types of people that might be out there? I seriously doubt it.
No,
they're living in an ivory tower. And that's a very, these judges, they're never going to directly see the consequences of what their actions, produce.
No, they absolutely live in an ivory tower. They have, security details that protect them. They have people parked outside their house. That judge probably has people parked outside their house. That particular guy, allegedly, because, nothing has gone through, he was a schizophrenic, and he had been diagnosed as a schizophrenic. He'd had the police called on him multiple times, a long rap sheet of, crimes. So I find it very odd that the same judge would do that to quite a few other people, but promissory notes to, hey, I promise to come back and do my court date. And then next thing you know, you're just sitting on public transit. You have your nose buried in your phone, like 99% of people. I'm not saying that, there was anything wrong with what she did, because most people, that's what they do. Whenever they're traveling, they sit down, they pull their phone out. They're looking at the news. They're looking at something to entertain them. They don't expect to get stabbed in the throat from behind for nothing. It's
sad that we live in a society where people have to be on guard constantly with that sort of stuff. And it's only because we're not strict enough on criminals. And, we let these people out with a slap on the wrist. Now, I'm going to probably catch some flack here, which it wouldn't be an episode with me in it if I wasn't catching some sort of flack. I mean, you know me, like I'm very opinionated, but sometimes
no,
but sometimes my opinions don't necessarily line up with the bulk of society, particularly on the right. Right? There are some libertarians that agree with me and disagree with me. There are Republicans who agree with me and disagree with me, and there are Democrats that agree with me and disagree with me. So the true nuance of an argument comes from a place that is free of insult from anyone. I simply cannot be deterred because I'm always going to look at things logically and with common sense and based on the way I view the world and the things that I've witnessed happen in the world over the years in my 41 years that I've been lucky enough to be on this rock. Mm-hmm. So the way I look at it is the nuance of the situation is, yes, we should not let criminals out with a slap on the wrist. We should be stricter on crime. We should lay down very stiff and extreme sentences for people who commit violent crimes, murder people, rape people, armed robbery, whatever it might be. Okay. However, there's another side of that coin as well, is what happens when you give the government full latitude to decide what punishment someone should receive for what crime and then allow them to be the arbiters of that. Now, if our judicial system was ran by principled people, right, like it's supposed to be, and I'm not saying that people that are judges are not principled people, because there's a lot of good principled judges out there that do a really good job, and many of the judges that Trump has appointed have done some pretty good things. So we're very lucky to have some good judges that seem to actually have a good head on their shoulder. So I'm not trying to say that all judges are like this person that let these guys off who then stabbed this young lady from Ukraine, actually, in the neck and killed her. She died right there on the bus. What I'm saying is, the system only works when it is when the arbiters of the system are given the latitude to do things according to the Constitution, according to the rule of law, according to the law of the land, and according to morality and goodness and justice, and actually wanting to gather justice for someone who has been, the direct victim of a crime. And I don't really trust our current government. I don't trust government in general to be the arbiters of that very, careful, undertaking. And one would say, okay, well, a person is judged by a jury of their peers. Okay, that's true. Our law system, our legal system that we have for establishing guilt, it's not always perfect, but it is a pretty good overall system, right? It may not be perfect, but it's okay, right? But again, do we trust them to be the arbiters of that? I mean, if we have people just letting folks off with a slap on the wrist for a crime that really should have an extreme penalty, and it doesn't. And yet you see a situation where, what was that? It was that Marine that subdued a guy on a bus who was trying to do something, let's just say similar to, maybe that guy was going to do something similar to what the guy stabbed the poor lady in the neck, right?
Yeah.
So he gets put in jail for subduing someone and preventing them from committing a crime. But then the guy who stabbed the girl in the neck got let off for a bunch of other crimes, which then allowed him to do that. So the media is quiet about the guy who stabbed the girl in the neck, but then all you see is a giant news feed of the dude who subdued the other guy, the Marine who subdued the guy, and he's in prison.
Well, I would hate to be the person that clearly describes the difference here in the perpetrator and the victim, because what happens is they're exactly the opposite.
Right.
In New York, it was the perpetrator was white, victim was black. In Charlotte, the perpetrator was black, victim, for all intents and purposes, was white, even though she was Ukrainian, Caucasian.
Sure.
So when you look at the two, and this was just coming after the whole Derek Chauvin, I forgot the dude's name. So the guy that died, knee on the neck, that guy. So there was
George Floyd.
Yeah, that guy. Man, I don't remember his name. So which might get you in trouble. Sorry. So after that, there was this big outcry of excessive force. So you could see why the public was up in arms about it. But I agree. He simply was defending himself. I think it was the victim at that time was attacking people, or he was like in their face, really in their personal space. And I'll be the first one to tell you that if you come within my personal space and I don't know you, I'm doing whatever I need to do to keep you out of my personal space.
Right.
And
I think that's reasonable.
And but in the particular case in Charlotte, that opportunity wasn't there. It was from behind.
What gets me so much is if you watch the extended video of that bus situation with the girl and her getting stabbed, I mean, that's tragic, extremely tragic. But what's even more tragic is people's response to it.
Oh, yeah.
The guy just walked off the bus covered in blood. He had blood dripping all over him.
Yeah, well, he cut himself, because what happens a lot when you stab somebody, especially if you don't have a hilt, like when you stab somebody, your hand will slip off into the blade. Yeah. So apparently he cut himself really bad, and he's like walking up and down. He's just like dripping blood from
What gets me is none of the men on that bus did anything.
Nope.
And they saw it. Saw it happen.
I noticed that as well.
And that's so strange to me that our society, they just had their heads stuck in their phones and just will do nothing in that type of situation. And that worries me. Like what's happened to manliness?
Well,
what's happened to manhood? I mean, like, there's no way. Like, if you or I saw something like that happen, that dude's going to be in some serious up shit creek.
Yeah. I think it was a train. And I think when he stabbed her, he moved to a different train car. So
maybe those people didn't see it.
If you watch the video, the people, when he moved to a different train car, the people in the second train car were like, "Hey man, you're bleeding a lot. Like, are you okay?" Because they didn't know what happened. But then if you, at the end of the video, you can hear someone yelling, "Hey, he just stabbed that girl back there." So now people are starting to understand like what's going on.
Yeah, what's going on.
But still, the people in that car watched that happen, and they didn't.
How terrible. Yeah. Everyone with their face stuck in their phone. We're going to talk about that in a future gun gripe episode about situational awareness. But for the purposes of today's podcast, we're going to stick to this whole complicity of crime. And, you know, is that to say that if you see a crime and you don't intervene, are you complicit in that crime being carried out?
I mean, I don't know, man, because like
that's a slippery slope. Because
some people genuinely aren't prepared to handle it. They're incapable of handling it. Think of like, you know, Bob that worked, because Charlotte, you know, they have some tech companies there, and this is just me spitballing. Bob, you know, tech guy, you know, a little overweight, no fighting ability, probably
never been in a fight in his whole life. Never been in a
fight. There's no way he's prepared or even able.
And you see a guy with a knife, it's probably the scariest thing you've ever seen. I'm not saying that it's some justification for an action. I think that a man should always view danger right in the eye and go, well, I may not be ready for this danger, but I'm as ready as I'm going to be, and I'm not going to be a coward. I think that should be people's mindset. That's just me. But yeah, you're right. Dude, I mean, maybe it's just was scared. Maybe it's like, dang, dude, maybe never saw anything like that before.
There's only one thing scarier than a gun, and that's a knife, dude. Like a knife will absolutely wreck you. I mean,
this Fairburn Sykes. I know we see this in a lot. This stays in the but like this Fairburn Sykes, this knife design was developed around World War II, and a lot of the British OSS commandos and people like that were using this thing in clandestine operations because, as a general purpose fighting knife, this Fairburn Sykes, this is one nasty little tool right here.
It has one purpose.
Yes. And if somebody knows what they're doing with this Fairburn Sykes, you're going to have a very bad day. Because all it takes is just getting stabbed in just the right spot.
Yeah.
And it's got the length. It's got the stabbing power through the hilt. And this knife right here, just one good jab in the kidney, you're done.
Second and third rib, right into that, into like the heart,
the lung, the heart. So this is a very deadly piece of hardware. And everybody, you know, I know we always associate defense with guns, but I always carry my Fairburn Sykes dagger everywhere I go. When I'm traveling, I have my go bag, and you better believe I have my Fairburn Sykes with me.
Yep.
And now it may not be the easiest thing to get to right in that moment, but you better believe if I need it, It's like I love this knife, and this is my favorite knife design is the Fairbairn Sykes.
So, I mean, I've seen pictures, like I went down that rabbit hole of looking at like, police officers that got, knife attacked. I mean, it just looks like a freaking bloodbath, man. And
I mean,
it's ruthless.
Think about ancient battlefields, and people were hacking each other to death with swords and shields and blunt objects and everything you can imagine. And, imagine like when you watch a movie that shows a medieval battle scene, I don't think it even comes close to capturing just how absolutely dreadful it had to be. Because, dang well, there's hundreds, if not thousands of men laying around, bleeding out to death, screaming.
Yep.
It had to have been a very hellish place to be.
Well, just imagine the broken bones. Like if it doesn't cut you, like you have armor on, something's broke. You have a broken arm, broken femur, broken hips, broken, like everything. Like you're just inside of a metal armor. You are just a sack of meat.
And those battles were dreadful, man. And, a lot of people don't realize it in ancient times. I mean, there were ways that they could perform triage, and they had some little bit of basic medical knowledge. And they could patch somebody up if they weren't hurt too bad. But if you lost that battle and you were the enemy, and they would just go around and spear people to death.
Dude,
it's like dead. If you were still alive, you ain't gonna be alive long. Like they would just go around and finish people off. There wasn't none of this. All right, the battle's over. You lost. Here, let me help you. If you were alive and you were able-bodied, they're going to make you a slave, or they were going to do something humiliating to you. And they love to humiliate people that lost. And it's crazy to think that, that deadliness, that savagery that we saw in ancient warfare, that when we look at today, right, we see, like in the UK, maybe a machete attack or a knife attack. Or I know in China, it happens all the time. People will go on a machete attack and they'll knife a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And you see with extreme prejudice and violence that they act quickly and violently and with power and intent.
Yeah.
And when you see that power and intent, even in the modern world, you think, wow, like the ancient times when this was the only way people could get each other out of here, they really meant it. I mean, those gladiators fighting in the ring, like fighting life and death, knowing that you're getting thrown into this pit and that it's you or them. And imagine the desperation if you weren't a trained warrior. You're just a slave or somebody that they just put in there just as cannon fodder. And imagine the feeling if you actually came out on top, if you actually survived somehow. Imagine the feeling to be like, wow, like how intense that had to be, that just really scary feeling of being in that moment, man. Like,
and knowing that if you did somehow win against the gladiator,
you're just going to go back in.
No, if you killed the crowd's favorite gladiator, they're going to kill you anyways for killing their favorite gladiator. Yeah. Imagine that you won and the crowd's like, boo, and then they still kill you. Like, come on.
So I think getting back to the original, kind of topic at hand is that, yes, knives are scary, and you should always kind of keep some distance between you and other people. If someone's a perfect stranger, we're going to talk about this in a future gun gripe episode, but you always want to create distance. Keep your distance. Make sure you don't ever have your back to people. And I think that's just a smart policy in general. No matter if you're a gun person, a knife person, or you're just a person who wants to be alive. Hello. I mean, if you don't want to get stabbed or shot, you probably shouldn't turn your back to people who have a clear history of shooting and stabbing people. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
So as far as the, complicit crime, I think one part that we haven't spoke about yet was the complicity of the government. And in this particular case, it was the mayor of Charlotte, asking, when that first happened, asking not to report on this particular crime. And I just thought that was very, unethical of it. Because why would you not report? And I'll tell you why. It's because it didn't fit the narrative of that particular city. They don't want that type of information to get out. And she took a lot of criticism for that.
As she should.
Yeah. I mean, but at this point, how can you not? How can you not, report on something that's this heinous? But you see this across the board. I mean, look at, so for example, this happened in Charlotte, but let's move to say like Chicago, Labor Day, let's just go back. I have the numbers here. I have the numbers here.
My man's got the receipts.
Yes. All right. Labor Day weekend. Chicago. 54 people shot. 7 people killed.
Wow.
One weekend in Chicago. 54 people shot, 7 people killed. That's crazy, man.
It's such a daily occurrence in some of these, leftist controlled cities.
Yeah.
That it's almost just not even worth reporting anymore for them because it's such a common occurrence that it would be in the news daily.
Well,
and wouldn't people kind of start to go, wait a minute, like this is happening every day. This is some sort of a problem. But of course, the media is complicit because they choose to they don't really report on it, or they report super soft, like maybe just a quick mention. There was a shooting today downtown, and then all right, on to other news, the weather. Like they don't want you to really have the details. They just kind of mention it in passing.
Here's the wild part: their answer, the governor of Illinois, the answer was more gun control. They want to institute more gun control for that. And I'm like, how you can't legislate crime out of it. It's just not going to happen.
No.
Because guess what? Those 54 people that were shot, majority of them were probably criminals, and they had them illegally anyways.
Right. And I mean, one would say, okay, and this is just me being sort of critical here. One would say if it's bad people that are just shooting each other every day and there's not a lot of good people involved in it, well then, maybe society's better off if they kill each other every day. I'm not saying that's the reality. I'm sure there are plenty of innocent people. I mean, you can't even get gas in some places in Chicago without someone trying to rob you when you get out of the car, or try to carjack you, or hold you up, or do something, or if anything, panhandle for money, or bother you, or harass you, if not worse.
Well, there's certain things that I don't do in Atlanta. Like, so we travel a lot for my daughter's wrestling tournaments, which means we have to go to the airport a lot. The fastest way to get to the airport is MARTA. MARTA, the train goes directly into the airport. It literally pulls inside of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, opens.
Really?
Yes. And you walk into baggage claim. You are right there. Nothing is faster. However, I refuse to do that because MARTA is not a pleasant experience. It's not. It smells like urine. There is homeless people panhandling on every train. The crime is out of control. Everything smells like weed. People blasting music like in the open. My daughter, in her youthful innocence, loves to ride the train. She's like, "Can we take the train?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." Like, we are not doing that.
So you park and ride?
Yes, I have. So as the law-abiding citizen that I am, I get taxed because I have to drive to the airport and pay $30 a day for parking just to feel adequately safe.
I do the park and ride also.
It is what it is.
Which I have to do the park and ride because I live far, further away from the airport than you do.
Yep.
I will say, as the park and ride goes, it is a pretty freaking good experience. Like every time I go,
very good.
The parking lot's secure. The people are fast and efficient. They know exactly where to take you. They're very friendly. So yeah, it costs money, but I know that when I'm gone, no one's going to mess with my car. One time I even got back to the park and ride and my battery was dead. I don't know how. There was some current draw in my vehicle and my truck died and it was cold. It was like 28 degrees when I got back. And sure enough, I called and I was like, "Hey, can you guys help me?" And they showed up with this huge, big old rechargeable jump box, like in the back of a truck, and they jumped me off.
Very nice.
And they were really cool about it. And the guy wouldn't even take a tip. I tried to give him a tip. He wouldn't take it. So
they're usually
I will say my experience
really nice
with them has been extremely good.
Yep.
Yeah, they charge $30 a day, but that's a peace of mind to know that no one's going to mess with your car. If you have a problem when you get back, they'll make it right. And so far, the park and ride, hey, big shout out Park and Ride over there in College Park. Good people.
And they can even wash your car if you want them to.
Really?
Yeah.
They
offer car detailing.
No, yeah. car detailing.
Yeah, you could.
I
don't do it, but
model.
they do offer that. Yeah.
What a smart business model.
Yep.
Think about it. Like, yeah, leave your key with us, whatever. You're going to be gone anyway. And it keeps you from having to take your key when you travel. Yeah. Right. So you don't have to worry about losing your key. They have it and they detail your car. You come back nice and clean, ready to go. go about your day. So I respect that. I understand that there are situations where you don't want to put yourself in harm's way. Why go out of your way to, potentially be a victim? And it's sad that in society we have to sort of perform this triage of danger when it comes to the way that we associate the public and being out in public places. And I do love Atlanta. I love going to Atlanta. I was born here. I was born in Atlanta. I've lived here a long time. I love my city. Atlanta is my city. And I love visiting Atlanta. I love going to the Varsity. I love going to the World of Coke. I love going to the aquarium. I love going over there to what do they call that place? It's not Peachtree Commons. It's that little area over there where they have the bodies exhibit and all that. I forget the name of it.
They had like the High Museum and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love all that. I love the culture of the city. I love going to Restoration Hardware and looking at all the bougie furniture. You ever been over there?
Yeah,
it's cool. I like it, and I do enjoy Atlanta. There's some really nice eating places up in Buckhead. And never in Atlanta do I ever feel unsafe. But that's because I also don't go to shady areas where you would be like, wow, this probably took a wrong turn.
You're not going to Bankhead.
No, you're not going to Stewart Avenue or even Peachtree Street on a late Saturday night can be a dangerous place to be.
Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard. Guys, the places that we're naming, don't go.
Look, boys and girls, if you're leaving the Claremont Gentleman's Lounge at 2:00 in the morning on a Sunday, well, Monday technically, expect to be absconded. You're going to get, something's going to happen. If you walk down Peachtree Street long enough, you're going to run into something crazy.
100%.
It's all about tempering your expectations.
Yep.
Right. If you know the place you're going has a history, well then why are you going there unless you're expecting something to happen?
That's right. You don't expect something to happen and then complain when it does.
Yes.
You got to stay out of those situations.
Yes. So, now, these things are hard enough to deal with as it is. It's even harder when the government is complicit in it. And I guess that's really to go full circle and go back to this complicity. The media. Now, I know we discussed the government and their actions and everything like that, but the media too, this machine that exists, that is the social media complex, the mainstream media complex, and this sort of talking head influencer complex that seems to be a huge part of everyday society, especially it's normie society. When we look at normie society, what does that mean when we say normies? We mean people who they rely on the media and mainstream media and social media pretty much for all their news, and they take whatever their favorite talking head says as the gospel, right? They're following their favorite Democrat people on Twitter or on wherever, and whatever they say, they take as narrative about race or relations or religion or vaccination status or whatever hot button topic that you might be able to just put in the blank. Mm-hmm. They will take whatever narrative they're fed as the gospel. And I think that the media is very complicit. When I say the media, it includes all these people because they're essentially all controlled kind of in the same way. The media is complicit in how you view the things that go on in your society, whether it's a negative opinion or a positive opinion or anything in between. And they absolutely are complicit in the way that we view these things when they happen. Either they fail to report them at all, or they choose to only report things in a very kind of specific, juicy sort of way. Like, okay, this situation with the girl getting stabbed on the bus. Okay. Girl gets stabbed by man on bus. There would be some generic reporting where they're going to purposely go out of their way to make it, to not like make it go against the narrative. Now, if it were, let's say, again, I hate to report it this way, but y'all, it is what it is. Okay, look, if a white man stabbed a black girl, what would the article the next day read?
Probably something about a race-induced hate crime.
Evil white guy stabs innocent, young, valedictorian, prom queen, everything it can be, black girl.
That's just the nature.
And they're never going to report it when it's the other way. So it's not, and look, it always gets labeled as racism, Matt. It always gets labeled. See, if you bring it up, oh, you're a racist. But they're not a racist for only showing one side of the equation to benefit whatever narrative they might want, which in itself is racism. They are guilty of the very racism they accuse you of by simply bringing up, well, hey, why don't you report it when it happens either way? But they don't. They only report it when it happens in the way that they want to use that as their narrative. And that, by definition, is racism. If you only report one side and not the other, who's the racist? Me for mentioning that you didn't report when it happened from other side, or you for only reporting one side? And then you try to deflect that argument on me because I mentioned that, oh, well, by the way, this happened. Oh, you racist, you did this. Like, really? You have the audacity? Do you think that people are that mentally, unstable or intellectually incapable of seeing what you're trying to do?
Right.
That's what gets me with
Well,
the media.
If you look at it that way, that is true, as well as if you look at another example is if you look at the Catholic school shooting that just took place in, what was it? Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody brought up the fact that was a transgendered, everybody kept saying misgendering. I use misgendering in quotes. They're saying he, when the manifesto and everything clearly was like she.
Yeah.
So it was a transgendered girl, if that's what they call. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I don't know the verbiage. I don't play the game.
It is a game.
Yeah. I don't play the game. So I'm not 100% sure on the correct terminology. I'm just going by what I see. Transgendered girl that was left leaning.
Yeah.
Hated Trump. The manifesto had all kinds of stuff about like anti-Trump, anti-government.
Uh-huh.
But how did you even see that in the news, Eric?
No. Now, what kind of hardware are we talking here? An innie, an Audi? Is it the SAC thing? Like what kind of hardware are we talking? Talking about female hardware, or what kind of hardware? Do we know?
I mean, I'm
boobs chopped off?
I'm not sure. It looked like a boy that identified as a girl. That's what it was.
How terrible.
So
that people put themselves in that situation. Like, I mean, it's not my place to be sorry for anybody or to have opinion either way, but it's kind of like the way I look at it. I kind of feel sorry for some of those people because that society's really got them confused and got them in a bad way. And there was a time where I kind of openly supported them and kind of felt like hey, treat them this way, that way, treat them as equals. Mm-hmm. And there's a bit of that. I mean, I don't have some complex against people that are that way.
Right.
But at one point you have to kind of look at it and go, there's something clearly wrong here. Whether it's a combination of SSRIs or mental situations, it's not that I have a problem with treating them equally. Mm-hmm. Of course, I have no problem with that. I'm down. I try to be a friendly guy, that sort of thing. But once a certain pattern starts to emerge, you have to eventually call it what it is and go, all right, well, do they need help? Is it medication they're on? Is it just that they're mentally unstable? What is it? What is causing them to act in a certain way? So it's not about whether or not someone chooses to be that way or not. Mm-hmm. It's what they do with it. It's how they act. It's what they put out in society. It's what they do in the world. And this is a really good way for us to segue over to some of the talks that the Republican Party has right now about taking away transgender gun rights. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Before we do, I do want to give a quick shout out to the next sponsor of the show, and that's our friends at Allegiance Gold. Okay. You ever notice how gold doesn't get much airtime until the system starts to shake? Well, here's what nobody's talking about. Starting July 1st, Basel III global banking rules classify gold as a Tier 1 asset, the same level as cash or U.S. Treasuries. That's huge. It means central banks will now treat gold as the highest quality form of capital. They're not doing this just for fun. They're preparing for something. If gold is good enough for the world's most powerful banks and governments, why wouldn't it be good enough to protect your retirement? This may be the moment that we've all been waiting for. Gold could reach levels we've never seen before. Whether you've got $5,000 or $5 million to safeguard, now is the time to act. I've seen plenty of gold companies advertise and come and go, but I chose to partner with Allegiance Gold because they actually care. They care about their pricing, integrity, and doing what's right by their clients. They make it simple to move part or all of your 401k, IRA, or savings into real physical gold and silver. As a veteran, you may even qualify for up to $5,000 in free silver. Call 844-790-9191 or visit allegiancegold.com/veterans. That's 944-790-9191 or allegiancegold.com/veterans. It's smart, secure, and simple. Call today. Big thanks to our friends at Allegiance Gold for being a long-term supporter of LLP. We hope to have them on board for the long run. Good people.
Great Allegiance and
big thanks to Allegiance for supporting the show. So let's talk a little bit about the Trump administration and where they're sort of Bondi and the DOJ and everybody, and where they're sort of pivoting on this issue, since we happen to be on the subject.
Absolutely.
All right. Complicity in crime. Okay. So let's go on the other end of the spectrum, Matt, where the government tries to step in and intervene in some way that they think will reduce crime. All right. Is that a bad thing? Okay, maybe on the surface it's not, right? Because people view the government as being responsible for law and order, right? Most people agree with law and order. They agree that they don't want to have a society full of craziness and danger, and they agree with law and order. So therefore, when they see the Trump administration, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, DOJ, and all of that sort of mechanism saying, well, maybe we should ban transgender people from owning firearms, right? That's what they're floating the idea right now. And one issue I have with the Republican Party is that they really have always been very, very big proponents for red flag confiscations. And it's something I could never understand.
Yep,
Pam Bondi was real big on pushing for red flag laws in Florida when she was, a district attorney in Florida. And she's taken that now to her role as the AG. And I can't say I necessarily agree with the practice. It puts officer safety at risk. It puts civilians and average people at risk. So this is something that is within the vein of red flag confiscation, where they go, well, if a person who is transgender has guns, and we know they have guns, well, now we're going to use some sort of red flag confiscation scheme to essentially go after them and disarm them. That's essentially more or less the idea that's being floated.
Yeah,
I disagree with it.
I disagree with that as well.
I disagree with it. And okay, is that to say that when you look at the pattern, Matt, that emerges from all of these mass shooters, right? What's one of the most distinctive modern patterns that is emerging with all of these shooters in recent memory? SSRIs, behavioral medicines, or they're either homosexual, transgender, or both. Whatever you want to call it.
Both of those
those things are all very much mutually exclusive to each other. When we look at all the shootings back in the 90s, okay, we had some school shootings like Columbine, which was very tragic, especially to happen in the 90s. Yeah. No one expected that to happen in the 90s, right? When Columbine occurred, it turns out, those kids were on some crazy SSRIs and depressed, and they were being bullied, and there was a lot of that going on, okay? So we have to have a serious talk about the drugs that we're pumping into people, right? All the preservatives that they're putting into food. Now, not to get on a grandstand about this in this conversation, but RFK just tore him a new one, in a congressional hearing the other day. He was tearing him a new one about the vaccines and about autism rates and things that are causing autism and all these behavioral issues that they're correcting with medications. That it's all this crap they're putting in the food, preservatives and hormones and all these sorts of things. And they're pumping kids full of these SSRIs. And society is indoctrinating all these kids to think they need to chop their genitalia off and God knows what else. Of course, that's enough to make a person crazy. And that's the greater discussion that needs to be occurring, is not should we just disarm these people and then allow them to still be hurt and crazy in society. We have to fix the crazy. The gun is not what's causing the issue. It's the actor. It's the person who is using the gun that's causing the issue. So this is really a mental health kind of crisis that is far more complicated than simply someone just being disturbed. This is not even so much that they're disturbed, Matt. They may not actually even be morally disturbed people, like an evil person. It's not because they're evil. They're just misaligned. There's some chemical imbalance or some imbalance of social chemistry that they're lacking in their lives that's causing them. I mean, if we had Jordan Peterson here, he could explain a lot better than me, but that's essentially, I'm no behavioral scientist, but that's, there's a social chemistry that is lacking a molecule here, and it's causing them to act this way.
Well, you'll have to, maybe you know the answer to this, but I thought that there was the ability for someone that is selling, they work at a gun store. Let's say you're working the counter at a gun store and someone comes in and they want to buy a gun. Can't the person refuse to sell them the gun? I thought I read that there was a rule or a law that allowed that. Like if that person was kind of coming in and just being a little shady, or you just had like a feeling that this person was kind of up to no good, would that person be able to deny the sale?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you work in a gun store, and this has always been standard practice for any gun store, if someone walks in a gun store, now look, it is not a gun seller or gun merchant's place to decide who should or should not own a gun. But if you sell guns, if you have an FFL and you're conducting an over-the-counter gun transaction, and let's say, now look, I'm not judging, okay? Listen, this is Eric here, okay? I'm pro-gun as hell. You're never going to catch me lacking, all right? I got the receipts, baby. Now look, I'm just saying the reality, okay? Say you run a gun shop and someone walks in and smell like reefer, and you don't want to sell them a gun because they smell like weed, or they come in and they smell like alcohol and you can tell they're drunk as a skunk. They stumble in the front door. They're physically intoxicated. You don't have to sell that person a gun. Or maybe a person comes in, they're acting shady and they said, oh, I just had an argument with my neighbor and I need a gun because I think I'm going to do something. You know, do you have to sell that person a gun? You don't. You can say, you know, sir, I don't feel comfortable with this. I think you need to maybe chill. You know, go think about this for a day or two and come back. You know, I'll be more than happy to help you. But I really, you know, it's not a gun salesman's place to be the arbiter of morality or principles or morals or even the law for that matter.
But it's okay to have morals and have have a conscience.
It is okay to have that view if you want. If a transaction feels weird, you don't have to conduct that transaction. Nothing says you have to do it. You have the full backing to be able to say, I don't think I'm comfortable with this transaction. And that's okay. You can say that. It's fine.
Like if you have the guy, like the all too famous, hey, I want that shotgun. Okay, great. You want a box of shells? No, just need one. Then that guy's probably gonna be like, I don't think I'm going to sell you this shotgun, sir. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because I've never worked a gun counter. I know you had, so I was kind of leaning on you to have that experience in that front. But that just goes to show you, like, while I agree they shouldn't be the arbiter, while they most definitely shouldn't deny gun sales based off of their own personal views, that if something feels off, that they do have the ability to do that.
Correct.
Because I mean, some people will just come in there and they'll just be wild. Like, I've been at a gun range that sells firearms, and I'll just be waiting for the ammo, because sometimes, like, I'll bring ammo that they don't want you to shoot, so I have to, like, lead core, so I have to buy ammo, and I'll just be waiting for them to fulfill my ammo order. And you'll just see the craziest jokers in there, like, doing some wild stuff.
And what about people who, go to a range and they want to rent like, there's lots of situations where people will go to a range and rent a gun and then use it on themselves in the range. It happens. Society in general, has disturbed people in it. Yeah. Society is full of disturbed people. It happens. And some people are self-destructive. Some people want to destroy others and hurt others. Some people gather some form of gratification in hurting others. So there's a huge spectrum here of behavioral tendencies that people have in society. And again, I'm no psychologist, but it's just, I think my view of it from just, recognizing human behavior and just looking how people act and observing people's behavior. We obviously do have a really big issue with people's, status of mental decay.
It's bad.
It is bad. And look, it's either someone is based and normal and average, and maybe they're just well grounded people. Like I would consider you and I to be pretty well-rounded and well-grounded people who handle our stuff. You know, we pay our bills. We're responsible. We work hard. We make money. We take good care of our family. We're average people who love life and are happy and don't need anything crazy to be happy. We don't need to pump ourselves full of a bunch of crap to be happy. Now, I'm not going to lie. I kind of like some testosterone.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm a pretty normal guy.
Well, I look at it like this, there's currently a shortage of medication for ADD, ADHD. And I think that I get that I only know this because I have, parents of our jiu-jitsu academy that are always like complaining about it. So I hear about it all the time because some of the kids that, part of teaching jiu-jitsu is you run into kids that are, they have ADD or ADHD and they have to constantly be stimulated. Jiu-jitsu is great for that. So lots of parents bring their kids in because that keeps them moving. It gives them something to do all the time. So I'm a huge advocate of that. If your kid is ADD or has ADHD, put him in martial arts. It'll get him moving. But
yeah.
From the parents, I hear like, hey, I have a hard time finding medication because sometimes the kids get really, really wild in class. And it's because they don't have their medication. The parents are saying, hey, we weren't able to fill our prescription. So I apologize in advance for little Timmy. He might act a little crazy. And that's just something that we have to deal with.
Well, things didn't used to always be like that.
Right.
Like back in the old days, you didn't have all the medicines for kids. They had plenty of things to do to keep them occupied.
Well, how many kids are on this medication that there is a nationwide shortage, that there's no other medication that I know of that is extremely hard to get, but yet something that these kids need to take daily, multiple times a day, they're running out of and they can't fill prescriptions. Like, that's a lot, man.
That's sketchy.
For an entire country to be having a shortage of this medication, whether it's Adderall or whatever other medication they're on. And it's been like that for like a year.
Yeah.
So they
can't make enough.
They can't make enough
to handle all of the mentally deranged people that are out there.
And then what's the next step on this? Like, okay, so they have ADD, ADHD, and then they just keep escalating this medication further and further up until they're on SSRIs and all kinds of stuff.
So let's go back to the Trump administration for a minute and let's talk a little bit about this potential, like they're talking about wanting to take guns away from transgender people. We'll talk about that a little bit. So what is the danger in that? Is that, again, earlier in the podcast, I discussed, this pendulum effect of this swinging back and forth. Well, one day it's the Republicans saying that transgender people shouldn't have guns. And the next day it's going to be the Democrats saying that, veterans shouldn't have guns, or, whatever group of people we deem to be mentally incapable of having a gun shouldn't own a gun. Well, do you really want two opposing political factions that are on very, very different ends of the political spectrum? Do you want them to have control of that ability to take people's firearms so easily? Because eventually Democrats are going to be in control again. And when they are, they're going to be, the Republicans went after transgender people, so we're going to go after veterans and whoever else. And, you're right wing, you posted, anti-vax, whatever it is. I mean, look at what's going on in the UK. They will literally come to your freaking house and arrest you for a social media post.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I tell you, if you gave that right to the Democrats, you better believe they'd be showing up to your house to arrest you for a social media post that they don't like.
They've already tried. There's been numerous times where, back when Twitter was Twitter and not X, that, government officials went after people for posting memes. They were like, oh, yeah, you posted a meme. We're going to try to sue you for defamation. Like, it's a meme. It's satire.
They came after me.
Yeah.
Early on. It was during the, I guess it was the 2020 presidential election. Was it in 2020?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so yeah, 2024. So yeah, 2020,
2020. Yeah. Yep. In 2020, they banned my Facebook account. They pulled my Facebook account completely. And I had almost 900,000 followers on my Facebook account, and I was posting pro-Trump stuff. I was like, hey, I'm pro-Trump, pro this. One day I woke up,
gone.
Account was gone. And what happened was that they got the call. Facebook got the call to pull me down because all the pro-Trump stuff I was posting.
Yep.
And then, of course, fast forward to, what happened, in the inauguration or whatever. And yeah, I got a visit later that year from the FBI. They show up right on my doorstep. Oh, well, where were you on the 7th?
Yeah.
What were you doing? Where were you? Were you in DC? Were you doing this? Were you doing that? Oh, and by the way, what happened to your Facebook account? It's like they knew.
They're just trolling you, man.
Yeah, they were trolling me because they knew by mentioning that was their way of putting that in my wheelhouse to say, yeah, we got rid of your Facebook account. It would be a shame if something happened to one of your other accounts. And they knew that it's a huge part of my livelihood. I was making a lot of money on affiliate links at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get into the business side of things, y'all, because I try not to let the kids know. Y'all are like my kids. We're not going to pull a car over. Don't worry, it's okay. But the truth is that part of my livelihood was that Facebook page, and I was making a considerable amount of money. Blessed enough to make decent money off of my affiliate posts, and I was posting spicy memes.
Yep.
I was posting pro-Trump stuff, and it was great. Everything was cool. Getting a lot of traction, doing really well. And really what they saw was that I was changing hearts and minds. I was changing people's minds and attitudes about Trump and about the Republican Party and about guns. And they saw that the political needle was moving more towards Trump and away from the other person. It was Hillary he was running against.
Kamala.
Was it Kamala?
Yeah,
and
Kamala.
In 2020 it was Hillary, wasn't it?
2020 it was.
Right.
Yeah,
In 2024 it was Kamala. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is they saw that this political needle was moving in a way that they didn't deem it to be appropriate. And again, going back to complicit crime, what more of a complicit crime is there when the government orders a social media company to take down a famous influencer's page because it doesn't line up with the political narrative that they want to see put forth? And now if I was some extreme left-wing person with 900,000 followers on Facebook and posts that were going viral every day, I'd get left alone. In fact, they would boost those posts. They would accelerate the growth of those posts. But it's like they couldn't find any way to shut me up or shut me down. So they literally just had to get rid of me. They deleted the account. They completely got rid of it with no explanation.
Yep.
They would never tell me what it was. And I ended up finding that there was a subpoena from the government about activities that page was involved in. And Facebook's answer was, well, we don't want to be involved in said activities. We're just going to delete the page.
Yeah.
Instead of telling me what it was. And they never would tell me. Even to this day, I have a couple of Facebook engineers I'm really good friends with. And they're like, dude, we looked in the back of your account. And at the time they were like, this is so locked down that it requires admin, like high level admin approval to even look and see. Like we can't even look with our level of access.
Man.
And then I wound up talking to another guy who was way higher, and even he couldn't get to it. He's like, dude, it is not normal for me to not be able to see what's going on the back end.
This has never happened before.
Yeah. So let me tell you, how I got my Facebook account back? It was, oh my gosh, Oversight Committee. What's that gentleman's name? Oh man, I'm going to feel so bad if I can't thank him in this video because it's not Chip Roy. The other gentleman is the guy that we really all wanted to run for the Speaker of the House.
Okay.
That guy. And he wanted to have another role. He wanted to be over the Oversight Committee. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, anyway, he's still over the Oversight Committee now. But it took literally had to reach out to the House Oversight Committee. And it was his office that called Facebook and said, you sons of bitches better bring this account back right now. It took literally him calling them directly and saying, we don't know why you deleted this guy's account, but you need to bring it back. And they did.
James Comer?
No. The other fella. Oh my God, I feel so bad. Maybe I'll try to put it down in the lower third here in the video. But what is that gentleman's name? I'm gonna go crazy if I can't remember his name. But he called him. And he sorted it out. And it took them literally having to go and get it sorted out for me. Isn't that crazy? I'm just a well-known average guy that shoots guns on the internet. Like I'm not some social media influencer or paid talking head like some of these people are. I'm just a guy with an opinion that just happens to have a huge audience.
Well,
they didn't like that.
Well, let's look at that. You had one political figure that stepped up to help you and do the right thing. And then now, if you look at another political figure, if you look at Minneapolis, Ilhan Omar, complicit crime here. And the complicit crime here is that when Ilhan Omar first was elected to Congress, they all have to file financial disclosures. It is required.
It was Jim Jordan's office. Sorry to interrupt.
Nope.
Jim Jordan.
Yes.
Jim Jordan contacted Facebook and said, "Sons of bitches, what are y'all doing?" And they're like, "Okay." And
Nice.
They gave me my account back.
Well, he did the right thing.
Yes, he
what he's
did. So
supposed to
thank
do.
you, Jim Jordan, and thank you to the House Oversight Committee. It was a rare example of the government actually doing their job. Anyway, I digress. Go ahead and continue. Sorry.
So when she filed, and so Minneapolis is a crime-ridden cesspool at the moment. That is where you started to see the gang members take over the local hotels. You have the whole quote, and I'm using quotes here. They're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs stuff going down. So Ilhan Omar on her financial disclosure reported a negative net worth when she first ran. Negative, which means she was in debt. Her net worth was so bad, she owed money. She had nothing to her name, literally. Fast forward to her latest financial disclosure from 2025. Eric, how much do you think her net worth is?
20, 30 million, something like that.
$30 million.
Wow. How surprising.
Complicit crime, y'all. Went from negative net worth to $30 million.
Don't even get me started on all the PACs that funnel money and all of this sort of treachery that goes
bonkers,
on and how bought and paid for these politicians seem to be. And, I have personally never met anyone who serves in Congress that's poor.
Never.
And if they are, they're not poor for long.
Never. Like it doesn't exist.
Looking at you, Dan Kershaw. I mean, look, like his trades on his first year as a junior congressman, his trades on the first year was like rivaling Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. What does that tell you? Like, who was giving him the gas? He was getting the inside. He was getting the inside juice.
He was getting the text messages from
maybe
Nancy.
Yeah, maybe he was on Nancy Pelosi's text thread.
A group chat.
I'm gonna tell you, it's a group chat. But Dan's trades were on point, a little too on point. Well, and look, I'm not blaming somebody for, hey, some legislation's coming up related to something, and like, all right, maybe I'll buy some stock. Maybe you don't know the players, know who it is. Maybe there's still some mystery involved, and you go, all right, well, I think it may be these people. But if you get the gas from the inside and they say, buy this stock at this time, at this specific time of the day, at 11:45 a.m. on this day, you're going to purchase this stock, wink, wink, because we told you to. And they manipulate it somehow, short sell it somehow. Like they know there's some internal manipulation of the stock market that they're doing to purposely benefit these people. So that's where I have issue with it because it's theft. I think it's unfair. It's usury. I don't like that shit.
It's true. And I don't think, and I agree. I think somebody put in, they wanted to legislate that you couldn't trade stock if you were in Congress, whether it's Senate or
just have their family members do it.
Yep. But here's the thing, real quick. I know we're running short on time. I remember a time, and I'm not a fan of Jimmy Carter. I think Jimmy Carter did more post-presidency than he did presidency. Jimmy Carter's problem was that he was too honest.
Mm-hmm.
He was a peanut farmer from Georgia. He owned a peanut farm. He had to sell his peanut farm when he became president. He left the White House using the bus. He wasn't picked up by a limo. He wasn't taken home on an airplane. He took the bus. He came in a man of meager means, and he left a man of meager means. He probably could have done what all people in high office have done and utilized that to make money, and he did not. I'm not a fan of his presidency, but I think that he lived the way that you would imagine someone that ran for public office and held public office would be. They just did what they thought was right, and that was it. That the sole purpose was he lived to for the people, to serve the country, and then he went home.
Yeah, that's a rare trait in today's world.
It was
for these people to actually
to a fault. To a fault.
Yeah. Well, I think that today's show, we definitely got into the nuanced bend of what it is for these people to be complicit in these crimes. And, I think it's a shame that we allow in our society these people to have so much control over not only the narrative, but how people within the justice system are purposely treated in order to push that said narrative. And it ends up people dying, businesses getting burned down, looting, rioting, crime running rampant. And there's a group of people who's specifically responsible for allowing these things to happen. And I take issue with that. And I think we should be much more, stringent and really punish these people for what they're doing. There needs to be justice. And I think it's a huge miscarriage of justice against the people. And I hope that in time that we will see, justice served for the servers of justice who are misusing and misappropriating their power. And that is clearly happening.
Yeah, they just need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Right now, there's zero accountability for anybody.
Well, I'm not going to hold my freaking breath. I'll tell you that much. And I don't think for 1 second they'll ever see accountability because it's a giant club and you ain't in it, just like George Carlin said. And it's true. Right. But anyway, look, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Not to start off on a droll moment, but anyway, I hope everyone, does great, has a fantastic week, and we will see you all next Monday. We post every Monday on LLP around 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa handles all of our editing and back-end work, so a big shout-out and big thanks to our girl Lisa, who is amazing. And we will have a new episode out for you every Monday here on Iraq Veteran. If you want to watch us in video form, check it out on the YouTube channel, Iraq Veteran 8888. Otherwise, you can find us where all your favorite podcasts are found, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. We're out there. Make sure you give us a good rating and maybe leave us a nice comment. Also, go back in on the back-end system and send us an email if you ever have a question or something you'd like us to air out your grievances on the air. We'll be happy to do that for you. So feel free to give us any ideas for podcasts you might have, or if you simply just want to drop a comment and say hello, whatever you'd like, we'd love to hear from you, and we will definitely include you. Also, make sure you follow me over on Twitter, Iraq Veteran 8888, because I often mention the LLP podcast over on Twitter, and I bring up questions that we might answer on the air or certain types of feedback from you guys. Sometimes we conduct polls. So if you'd like to be included in all of that stuff and help us out with the podcast, that's one way you can do so is by following me over on Twitter. So thank you all very much. Many more podcasts on the way, and big shout out to our sponsors. Anything else, Matt, before we go?
Nope. No, thanks for everybody listening to us. And, we have a good fan base and you guys have been great. Thank you.
Have a good one, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Life, Liberty, and Pursuit. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate that. You can support us over on Ballistic Ink by picking yourself up some merch. And remember, guys, danger is freedom. Have a good one.